All right. Hello, everybody. This is the Atlanta FileMaker Developers Group in our November meeting. So we're in the dark if you're watching online because we're going to be using a projector here, so it's just easier to see. But I guess we'll get started with the introductions. My name is David Nandel from Blue Feather. We'll continue around this way.
I'm Junior, 360 Works. I'm Will, 360 Works as well.
Erica Kidd, Blue Feather.
Earl Cook, Laser Solutions.
Earl Cook, Laser Solutions.
Okay, and this week, Earl will be presenting and on using APIs with FileMaker, right? REST APIs?
Correct.
Okay. All right, and we'll get started. So I think your screen is showing on here already.
Okay.
Let's get this up here. There you go. Now your screen is being displayed.
All right.
So you can control on your computer. You don't have to do anything for it.
Okay, well, I was just my microphone was
Okay.
right here, so I was talking to it. Okay, well, welcome everyone. This is a long time project that's been going on. I started off with our software, which is eTouch for Health, and wrote this manual.
I turned the camera up on here. It's showing your screen up here now.
Oh, okay.
But you have
Right, but anyway, the manual is 4 levels of workshops, and our customers right now are in over 80 countries around the world, and attempting to train people in our software. We had the manual, we have PDF manuals, and tried webinars, but we have people in every time zone on Earth, and trying to schedule was almost impossible. So decided to go in and I recorded almost 40 videos and put those up onto AWS and put them into S3 buckets. And wanting to distribute the video. And the very first thing I did was I went in and was looking at what's called Wowza, and which is an EC2 instance, and got the Wowza working. And let's see, I'll show you a couple of things right here. But basically, one thing that wanting to do is that found out that this is.
this over here. And then it'll pick it up pretty well. You don't have to talk directly
Okay.
to it.
All right. So, okay, we're good.
Yeah. So you can talk
Okay, we're doing a little rearranging here. We have a projector on one screen and a microphone on another. So in getting into the APIs, and this was my first adventure into this, and I call it the alphabet soup. Started hearing about APIs, curl, JSON, REST, CRUD, AWS S3, SOAP, Rails, Ruby, CRUD, REST, and
Erica, I think you had some comments about that one time when we were talking about things too.
Yeah.
so it was, getting into each of these was quite an adventure. And what I found is that working with what I've done here is working with the API on AWS and also on something that's called a Zencoder. And let's move around right here. So once I got is that technical drawings there? Started working with the Wowza API, and Wowza is an EC2 instance. And I've turned off hopefully all my passwords and everything else here.
I'll clip it out later.
Okay, well, good. Good. But this is, I'll just briefly put them in right here. And you can see just configuring Wowza was a bear. I spent 3 months getting that going, and basically it's running real-time video and doing streaming. And what happened, I turned it on, And I had it running for approximately 3 or 4 days, and I noticed that my bill was already up to $145. And I was used to the Amazon way of billing, which you only get billed when you use, you're actually streaming or whatever. But here with an EC2, Wowza EC2 instance, it was sitting there and billing by the second.
So what is Wowza? I haven't heard of it.
Wowza is a streaming engine. It's a really industrial strength streaming engine. And it's primarily for live video transcoding.
Do you get to choose that you want to use Wowza when you like spin up a new EC2 instance?
Yeah, I chose it on the marketplace. Went in and chose Wowza. Got it installed on EC2.
So is it a platform like a product that you purchase through Amazon? Then not one of Amazon's core services. It's one of those things like you can get FileMaker Cloud as a.
It's exactly like FileMaker. It's running on the marketplace, and you can get that and install that, and then configuring it. And primarily, it's for, I think, for live streaming. And when someone has an event that they want to live stream, they go ahead and turn it on. But I was going through, I wanted video on demand, and I didn't know when my customers would be on, so I had it on the entire time. And so it was like being stuck in a traffic jam in a New York taxi with the meter running.
Yeah.
And it was, and I told Gil, I said, I've created a monster. And I had to pull the plug, and it took me several days to get it stopped. And I would just see that the meter running. It went up to about $275.
Oh, wow.
Before I got it turned off. So I was back to square one, and I said, well, what do I do now? I still need to get my videos. So I got them up in S3. And so my next was coming in was working with, let me get it right here. It's coming up with Zencoder. And Zencoder will go through and convert your videos. We were all used to, what started this was several years ago, Apple quietly announced that they were going to stop support for QuickTime for Windows. I saw it on the evening news. And so I called the very next morning because we have a lot of videos running in all of our software. So I called up FileMaker the next morning, and I said, well, what's going to be the workaround for this? And they said, well, we haven't heard about this. So I kind of went into shock a little bit, but started finding out that, yeah, big time shock. And went in and worked with, found a VLC, I'm sorry. VLC is will run on Windows and will run QuickTime. But that was my short-term fix, but I needed a long-term fix. So that's where I got into looking at transcoding. And whereas QuickTime would run, and it would automatically adjust the video to the audio. So the audio would go and it would drop out the quality of video if it need be. But things have moved along, progressed beyond that, and now the chosen method of Apple is to use HLS, which is segmented video. And so what they do is take a video and break it down into 10-second chunks and make up a lot of different videos. And then you have a playlist that keeps up with that. So that was so I got the, here, well, let's just look at.
Years in there.
Oh, yeah. Right, thank you. So this was going through and getting all the different videos going on. Let's see, I'm going to put it in test mode right here just to get some of my codes out. And with different videos, I mean, you have different resolutions and different speeds and everything else. And so this is for the different devices. So going in and—
Is this your configuration? So you wrote these configurations?
I wrote all this,
okay,
yes. So what I needed to do is that I had, okay, there's 1, 2, 3, okay, 7 different video resolutions. And so this is what I was sitting into at Zencoder, was to go in and boy, oh boy, I got my codes there. Was to go in and create all these different files. So each of these are my JSONs right here. And going in, let's see. I want to go down to 3 because it has a little bit more information in it right here. So this is what the JSON looks like going through, and for each of these, and there's a lot of escape characters going in because you need to add the quotation marks as part of the syntax, and so you have to escape out so that you can get those in. And this is what the code was looking like, and this is just for each one of the different varieties, flavors of the video.
What version of FileMaker are you doing this in?
Using 16.
Okay. One thing that you might want to look into is there's new Json functions in 16 that can help you generate this, so you don't have to do all the escape quotes and all that.
Okay. Even on the generation, I thought it was. I knew that it was on the decode, but
yeah, Json set element, I think is what it's called.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it'll help you build that.
You can create arrays, objects, numbers.
Oh.
But also, I think I think single quotes are legal in JSON and are the same thing as double quotes. So I think if you use single quotes, you would have to escape them also.
Okay. All right. Well,
Something
that's what I wanted. That's what I want to learn. This is a learning
Yeah.
experience. Okay. Thank you. All right. So anyway, going through, yeah, that was a great pain, escaping everything. So if that's now in 16, that's great because I started this in 15.
Yeah, in 15 you would have to do it like this.
Yeah.
Before you use a plugin to. Yeah.
So going through and then putting it all together. JSON master. Let's see what's mine. Right here. Okay. So this was basically my JSON file that I put together here after I put together all the individual pieces of it. And from there, submitted. Let me just get over here. And this is where curl comes in. Whoops, that's not the one. Yeah, okay. Let's see if I can make this a little larger here. I like the way it used to get this down at the bottom there to make it larger now. I'm not making it larger. But the going through, and the big thing is that what you have to do now is take the JSON file itself and copy it into a container. And then the container is part of the encoder. Let's see, let me stop here. Where's the insert from URL? So this is where I was posting it to, and so coming in, and this is where the curl comes in, and curl is actually going through and use that to post through HTTP, and so I've got curl saying that I'm posting, and then the header information. I had a Zencoder, my API code to get in. And then I'm telling it that JSON is coming through, the application is JSON, and to accept that. The code is -D, which means data coming through, and using the ampersand sign in front of even though it's a variable.
Wasn't it at?
Add sign, yeah, add sign, excuse me. Not the ampersand, yeah, the add sign. Add sign, and then got your variable there with the $sign and JSON content. So that is how getting submitted to the transcoder information. And it goes and it looked in one bucket in S3, grabs the information, transcodes each of those, each one of those 7 different kinds. It comes up with all those files. So it's just coming up with hundreds of files. and then I copy them into, I've got another bucket that's copy those into. And
So you upload it once and then use this to reformat it and to transcode it in all these different resolutions and bit rates and all that kind of stuff?
yes, I have, yeah, did this for each one of my files. Go through, so you start off with one video file and then transcode it into 7 different variations. And each of those was like hundreds of files. So you may end up with, 700 files, whatever.
And so this API is automatically putting it into another S3 bucket for you?
Yes. And you need to go through and on the bucket that it's going into, you have to give Zencoder permission to actually write to that bucket. So that was, so going through, and let's see, coming down, FileMaker. I'm going to go pick the die. So if I look at my buckets, so this was just for my first video, my first segment. So you see this starts off with all the ones. And there's one, and .ts is a time slice. So it goes through and created all of these slices of the video.
These are all the 10-second slices you're talking about?
Yeah, these are all the 10-second slices that they're going through. And so as you can see, it creates many, but you can see also right here, these are the resolutions right there that it's creating. And the big thing is that it creates a playlist. It creates a playlist for each one that keeps up with all of those individual pieces. And when you call the playlist, it manages playing of those. So that's how that got in there. And then, so that's my HLS right there, going through. And then it came time to, all right, so you have your S3 bucket, and you can go in directly and load from your S3 bucket. But you really don't want to do that, because what's happening is that it's you're giving people direct access to content. And rather than doing that, it's recommended that you go through and use CloudFront. And CloudFront is a CDN, the Content Delivery Network. And the reason for using CloudFront is, well, our clients are all over the world, and these edge servers, they've got them in Asia, and they have them in Europe, and all over, and a couple in the United States. So the remote clients log in to the closest, they don't know what it is, they just have an address, and Amazon figures out where, which is the closest edge server for them, and then streams over, going through from S3 through CloudFront. So Zencoder was just there to break up the files, create the files, and then going through was CloudFront. Once you get into CloudFront, so these are all the different need the codes and everything else, and policies, and all of these pieces of information right here are for working with CloudFront. And CloudFront got in, and the purpose was to set 3 cookies, because you need to use signed cookies to stream the data. The reason for that is because once you get access to your bucket and you get your, you call your playlist, if you didn't use a signed cookie, you would have to send cookies each time, rather than just getting that one playlist. Once you get the one playlist, then it calls up all the other files, the many files. So that's the reason signed cookies are being used. They're bit. So going through here, and so it starts off, the first cookie is that you're working with a policy. And the policy is a JSON document. that tells you, setting the cookie length, when it should expire, and giving the information tells you where your content is located. So you're going through and do that, then you go through and do a base64 encoded version of the policy statement. And then you come down, and down the bottom here, you can see this is the result of the code, base64. Also, when you're going in with these, after doing it, you find that some of these, that the information, there's pluses sometimes, and equals, and slashes that need to be removed from the code. So that's another fun part of all this. And then the second cookie is coming through, and this is the CloudFront signature. And you get a hashed and signed version of the policy statement. And this is where I have a question too. The different, ask what's the difference between base64 and hashing? Well, I thought base64 was hashing. And
so they're different things. Yeah, base64 is taking, when you convert something to base64, you're taking some data, usually like binary data, and converting it to text essentially, so that you have a text representation of that data. Right. So the text is the bytes that will be converted back. And when you hash something, that's usually like a one-way conversion of some data. It's kind of like one-way encryption, sort of. And so you use hashing sometimes to identify a file and make sure that you downloaded the correct thing. So like someone will put up a download and says, "Hey, take this download. Here's the hash."
And the hash is generated based on all the bytes in the actual application, but it isn't all of the bytes in the application. So it's just some small, 64 character string that you can compare, and you know that you got all the right bytes.
Yeah. To make sure that no one has.
It's like a checksum.
It's a checksum.
Yeah.
A checksum is exactly.
Okay.
It's exactly what it is.
Okay. And then passwords, use hashing of passwords too. So rather than storing an actual password, the way passwords should be done. Sorry, this is the way passwords should be done. Sometimes, if you have a bad website, they will store your password encrypted, but they'll actually store in a decryptable format to check it. The way passwords should be done is, rather than storing the password itself, you hash the password and store the hash of the password, because it's like a one-way encryption. And then when someone puts their password in, you don't compare the passwords, you compare the hashes of the passwords. And if they match, then you've got the right thing. So if you ever see a site that, when you say, "I forgot my password," if they ever send you the password, that's a warning flag. You've done that wrong, because they shouldn't have it. They should only have the hash of the password.
Right. I keep working on that one right there. Okay, so going through, and this was my my statement. This was my policy statement right there, and that was in JSON. And then have to go through and a base64 of that, and removing the characters.
You're actually removing the characters?
Well, replacing, not replacing. I was replacing.
URL encoding them, right?
Yes. Well, going through. Well, let's see. What is it? The plus, and let's see.
Plus the equal.
Yeah, the plus and the equal and the slash. They get converted into a dash, underscore, and a tilde.
Mm-hmm.
And so went through there, and also base64 adds a return at the end. So you have to get rid of the return. So that was fun right there. So
We've had a lot of fun.
Oh,
Period.
yeah.
I know that's code for "I wanted to kill somebody."
Yes. So I came over here, and there was, I removed the line tree there, and I know I went through parsing. I probably could do it all in one step, but I did it in 3 different steps, bringing it all out. So it ends up in remove the line feeds and removed all the extra characters and replace the characters, remove the extra line feed and everything. So then I have part of my first cookie right there, and that's what it ended up being right there. Was just the portion right there. So cookie 2 I know cookie 2 is not right, but anyway, coming back through, and this is where the come in and need to do the hashing, and this is where some of the setting up the parameters for hashing, which I need to do. But so this was coming through, and the first time, and then once again, removed characters, removing line feeds, and I ended up coming up with a cookie that looked like that. So that was the second part right there. Then third part is coming back through and taking that, and then you have the key pair ID that comes down is an active CloudFront pair, and then you start coming through and convert that to Base64 and replace unsupported characters, and you come through and ended up with basically that was my my cookie right there. So that was going through and building 3 different cookies, and that's about 75% of the way, I think, correctly. I did it, but I need to hash on the second one a bit more better. And then coming up with cookie processing. So the whole idea is that you get everything goes into one massive cookie without, and that's what it's looking like right there. This is where I start. I lost right here because let's see, going right here. This is the end of the line. Please exit the train. Right. Yeah. So, but this is where I start using curl coming in right here, and sending in the cookies, and the whole interaction of the cookie and the way that AWS is handling that, and the way that you handle the cookie from there on in. That's my brick wall that I hit right there. So what I did was that I have a lot of links right here. These are all links that I found on APIs and Base64, CloudFront, everything right there. And these are all the different resources that I've been looking through and studying and looking. And there's a bunch there. Some of the best that I went through was, let's see, link domain FileMaker. And thanks to Erica showing me from the videos from DevCon.
Yeah, yeah.
And those are great. So I just built it's going through here and checking all these out, and I've been taking my notes over here. And if anyone wants all these resources, I can send them to you. So that's how I was going through. But what I have ended up doing.
You should host this on WebDirect and charge people to access it.
Pardon?
You should host this on WebDirect and charge people to access it.
Yeah, okay. That's a good idea. He said, Will said I should put it on WebDirect and charge for the access. Well, that's where the cookies come in. That's the whole purpose of the cookies right there. And oops. So this is really where everything is going. This is, I started, I just created a small, what I call a portal for my students that could access all the different videos. So I go through and I have my classes right here and go through and have a lot of detail. These are all online. This is a description of the course, requirements right here. And this PDF of our manuals. They can either use the PDFs or purchase our manuals. Activation. I've got my codes here, but we ran into a little bit of a problem. But I come up with a code, kind of my own hashing, that I've come up with to control, and that they have 90 days from the time that they enter this. And so they send me their email and their name and email address and everything, and then I send them a hashed code and enter it, and then it will activate. So I'm controlling my activation right there. With each one, also these are the different segments, and this is where they can keep track of them. And let's go right here, and let's see. I'll go over here a little bit full screen. Notice up here, I'm just going to go auto right here, and when I go auto, notice that it's flipping through the different videos right here.
Your transcoded video we're looking at here?
Yes, that's my transcoded video. And that one, it went and started audio right there, but if I go here, I can manually, if I choose auto, it'll go through and it'll choose the best resolution and for the speed and the connection that's going on at the time. And or I can choose them individually, the ones that I So these are all the videos, and so this is the whole purpose, was to give have the videos in my portal and control access to it. So I'm controlling access right now through they need to have a password, they need to have these codes that I provide, and then they're going through CloudFront, and excuse me, CloudFront has its URL is encoded also, so it's not showing your where your content is located.
You're not using the cookie method though, right?
I am not using the cookie method right now. So that was what I said. I've got at least, I have it working. This is Plan C, but not Plan D. But so the cookies, I've already spent so much time on this, I had to move on.
Yeah.
And but now working with the cookies and finishing that portion up is my next big.
Is there an advantage to using the cookies over what you're doing now?
It is just a different, an extra level of security.
Okay, I see.
And this way, I already have one level of security, well, a couple levels of security. I've got passwords for my portal. Then I have the code, activation codes that I hash out and leave those. So.
Although the cookies would make it so that even if someone could somehow sniff out the URL to the content, they wouldn't be able to access it without the cookies.
Right, right.
And only your application can generate the cookies.
And only my application is generating cookies, yes. And the thing is, well, there's signed URLs and signed cookies. And signed cookies, AWS says that you must use the signed cookies because of the playlist, and you grab the first playlist, and then it grabs the rest of the files that are associated with that. And using the other methods, assigned URLs would not allow you to do that. So that is a quick. Go again. I was trying to move it.
Again.
Right. But the thing is that when I first started using AWS, it was, 7 years ago. And I was going to speak it in Japan, and they wanted to see it on the iPad. And so all of our videos, let's try running them on the iPad at QuickTime would not run. And Jesse said that I needed to do this. So I'd use S3 and CloudFront. And so Jesse was one of, sent it down that path. And got to, and then the CloudFront for Asia was opened up a week before I gave my talk in Japan.
Wow.
So it was so I was one of the first people in the world to be using CloudFront in Asia. But that does progressive. What it does, it just starts downloading the entire video, and works fine on iOS because it works great on iOS.
It streams it like MP4, right?
Yeah, it just streams like MP4. But you get onto your laptop, and what it does is it downloads the whole file, starts downloading the whole file, and you start filling people's disk up with gigabyte videos and like that. So that's the reason for the streaming, the time segmented streaming, the TS files.
So is there a way that you could configure it to like automatically switch between the qualities? Like if the connection speed were to drop off significantly in the middle of the video, can you provide like an option for it to automatically switch?
Oh, it automatically switches.
Oh, it does automatically switch.
Yeah. If you go in and
so if you put it on 4K and then start playing it and you on dial-up, it'll dial down to like 320.
Yeah. Or let's say if you go here, and let's say it's on auto, right? It puts it on auto, and it's going through and it's picking.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it went through a couple right there.
Yeah, I saw it.
Because it change every 10 seconds. If you leave it for a second here, is it going to?
Yeah, will it get bigger?
Yeah, there it went. So it automatically. It looks
like it automatically starts kind of low and then ramps up. I mean, we got a pretty fast internet connection here.
Yeah. So it started small and then it's ramping up. It's going up.
Much buffering, I guess, and then it just goes. And
right.
I think Netflix does the same strategy too. That's very good.
Or going down here and just pick the highest one right in the very beginning, and I've locked that one in. And so it's going into the higher resolution right here. Like I say, going through and out and doing the cookies is just I feel like I have it at least working this way,
right?
With some security that I can control and control access through the way that I've set my passwords up and my hashing of my codes. But so that is what I'm working with, and like I said, it's going through and working with curl, working with JSON. Now the biggest thing is the cookie part, and also FileMaker has create cookie jar, and I think can get cookies and set cookies and everything else. Have you worked with that part yet?
I'm familiar with that in the Monkey Bread software plugin. I know curl, insert from URL has curl, is using curl, and you can provide like a curl option string. So that would be where your -h to set a header, and then cookie, and then your cookie value. But I think that the cookie jar, the cookie file, and all that I'm only familiar with that in the Monkey Bread. But then again, they're using curl too, so I think I mean, it's likely you have the same options as far as the cookie jar. So you could you could establish the cookie jar one time, and then all of your subsequent requests until you reset the curl would contain those cookies.
Okay, so that's the workflow right there. Is applying for your cookie, submitting your job, your curl with JSON and everything with all your 3 cookies, and then if you're successful, it comes back and gives you permission, and from there you're going in and you're setting up a cookie jar.
So does every subsequent request have to send the 3 cookies?
No.
Okay, so basically what's happening is you're setting 3 cookies, and then Amazon is setting another cookie. So they're actually probably returning in their response headers a set cookie that curl will then store, and that's what continues to authenticate you throughout the remainder of your requests.
Okay. So that's is that internal within curl? Or
yeah, you wouldn't actually manage that as long as you set.
You don't even need to manage that.
As long as you set up the cookie jar. As long as you set up the cookie jar, curl will manage sending the cookies for subsequent requests until you reset the request. Okay.
So you do use the FileMaker set cookie jar, or is that curl?
So
setting?
I think that's curl. Like I said, I haven't done it with native FileMaker, only with the NBS plugin, but I know the NBS plugin is using curl, so right. I believe it's a curl feature.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that is where my brick wall is right now. But I found a way around it. At least the videos are working now, and they're working through CloudFront and the edge servers around the world, and also using Zencoder and using curl and Json through there to build all my time-segmented files. That's it.
Very cool.
That is very
How about you?
Well, that's great. Thanks a lot.
Certainly. Yeah, that was quick and dirty.
So you're liking Amazon?
That's not the word I would use. It's incredible. That's the way the world is going. They are. Have you been to any of their free events they've been holding here? I've been to 2 of them here in Atlanta.
Those been good. I've seen them. I haven't gone to them yet.
Oh, they've been excellent.
Oh,
They've been excellent. Pardon?
What sort of events are they?
They start and they go through all the different, just a global view of Amazon, and showing how quickly they're growing, and showing that how everybody's taking all their big apps and putting them now into the
But
cloud.
that means when Amazon Web Services goes down, half the internet's offline.
Exactly.
You know?
Well,
I think you got to diversify your portfolio.
Yeah, I think it's only been down one time that I've heard.
It's one time in recent history that I can think of for longer.
It was like last year or
Yeah, I
something.
mean, it was down for 4 hours.
Yeah, but they say that that they keep adding servers. That anytime they need more servers, they immediately bring them online.
Have you seen the
And-
machines that they use to run this stuff? I mean,
No.
it's not your everyday server hardware. It's a computer that requires a separate computer to manage it. Like it's a giant tower that has a laptop attached to it. And the laptop, you can shut down parts of it and pull parts of it out while the whole thing continues to run.
Yeah,
There's redundancy upon redundancy upon redundancy, and it's just intended to never be offline. Like once you power it on, it's never supposed to power back on.
they have 99.911
Yeah.
99.999999999.
And that equates to something like 6 hours a year or something like that. Like
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's something very, very small.
Yeah, and plus then they have with CloudFront, you've got it distributed all over the world.
Right.
So
the
you're
actual data center is
cached,
separated.
right? You're cached all over the world. So
Right, and CloudFront will fall back. I mean, if one of the data centers is having problems or the latency is too high, it'll jump to the next lowest latency data center.
yeah,
I think it's really cool that it has enabled, people like us sitting around here to all of a sudden be providing data, like you said, in Japan and everything.
Yeah.
You didn't have to go over there and set up a server and code it
Big
to.
server. Yeah.
So,
Any
yeah.
old guy can basically set up a Netflix-sized enterprise
Yeah.
content delivery service. Like, we could stream our FileMaker user group meetings in HD to anyone all over the world, millions of users at a time.
yes, exactly. Zencoder has it's got live streaming and video on demand. I'm just using video on demand right now. So that's so Zencoder. I like Zencoder. They have excellent support. AWS is not excellent support.
No, that's like Google. If you have a question or a problem, you got to hit the forums. The users, they have minimal documentation, and there's not like an 800 number you can call.
Yeah.
The Amazon documentation, there's a lot of it. It's just the way that they have put it together. It just keeps nesting and nesting and nesting, and then finally you lose where you were trying to get back to the original.
I also think
both-
it's too verbose. There's
for both-
too much words.
For both Google and Amazon, they actually do have numbers that you can call in and talk with the tech. For Amazon, you have to select one of their support tiers.
$49
Yeah.
a month is the beginning.
Yeah, and it gives you, I don't know if it's for like an hour of phone time or something, and it's not a lot. But if you're going to be on the phone with them a lot, you got to go to a higher support tier and things.
Does
Exactly.
Google make you pay for it?
So if you have the G Suite, which is their new name for the Google Apps for Work,
Yeah.
and you pay $5 or 10 or 15, whatever tier you've got per user per month, they give you a number you can call in and talk with someone there too, with a special like access code and stuff.
I see. So the incredibly powerful API is free, but help with the incredibly powerful API.
Well, it's like if
Sure, they're making their money.
yeah. If you're
Incredibly powerful curly.
yeah, if you've got a I don't know what it's like if you're using their cloud compute platform. I imagine they have some sort of support stuff like the same way that Amazon does, where you sign up for support plan, and then you can actually talk to someone on the phone. But I know, like, if you're using the work stuff, like the Office, their Office Suite Drive and things like that, if you have a paid plan, you can call someone and like they'll help you set up your Active Directory sync or whatever you need to do. But you have to have a paid plan for that.
So what I was doing too, as I was going through, and let's see.
Same thing for Maps, I think, actually, too.
I'm doing a Google Calendar, doing some work with Google Calendar API right now, and it's and they do really unusual things that they're not really outlined anywhere in any specification, like the way that they send the sequence of events they send you, or like if you cancel an instance of a recurring event, they send it to you twice. If you like, there are certain little like things that aren't. It's not really clear why it's happening, and there's nowhere that tells you that it's going to happen. So it's almost sort of like a figure it out yourself,
I wonder if there's a paid plan that would cover that sort of thing.
Maybe I've been through all the docs that they offer, and it's they have like Java doc style stubs that have very small like descriptions about what each method does, and then they have the plain English paragraph style documentation that just says this is what an event is. So yeah,
For some of the things, like I know Maps, you have to pay like $10,000 a year minimum, and I think they do provide support for it. But I don't know if there's that sort of thing.
Wow.
They better, right? Yeah,
Yeah, jeez.
but I know that has a really complex API that goes with it too, because you're supposed to be able to do all sorts of like ArcGIS level layers and mapping and everything too. But yeah.
And so one thing I really want to get to was using Postman.
Very useful tool.
Very useful. I'd like to see how that's used in
there's a manual post application.
Yeah, if you want to like test posts,
I have a Firefox extension called Poster.
it's probably the
that
same kind
could
of thing.
probably be a meeting in itself right there.
Postman.
Yeah.
There's someone made a FileMaker database that does a very similar kind of thing.
Oh, I see. Yeah, this is pretty much, it's a browser extension, so it's not quite as store your old posts, but there's also SoapUI.
So yeah, the Postman is really cool. If you have a number of, like talking about storing your posts, you can actually have it store variables and retrieve stuff from your post to use in subsequent calls. So I've got a client that I work with, and we're doing like a Marketo integration. So the first thing you have to do is you have to get a token from Marketo, so that you can run in Postman. You can run your request to get the token as a variable just in the program.
So you can do the sequences of the API.
Exactly, yeah, and chain it all together, and it'll read results from it. Like you can read your JSON and use that in your next call.
So you can plan out what you need to do in your code when you actually go to, integrate it into your application.
Yeah, and then it'll take whatever you've submitted and write that request in different languages for you. So if you've used the interface to build your headers and all that kind of stuff, you can pick like get this as a curl request, and it'll write it out as curl. So
Can you
copy
make it
and
do
paste
that?
Yeah. So if you click up here, where is it? Sorry, hit code right there. So you can change the request type right here. So if you want it in PHP or something like that, you can pick a different language.
Do it in Java.
Do Java.
Which of those?
That's fine.
Okay.
So like there's the Java code to make that request.
Oh, okay. So I mean, it's using a library, but that's I see.
Yeah.
It's using HTTP library. Okay, this is just jQuery. That's cool. Very cool.
I'll pull this up on here and so they're talking about it.
Okay.
Let's see. I'll open up Postman. Cool. Switch to sharing my screen on here.
Seems better than SoapUI too.
Okay, so we can close this down. And there are a bunch of different, you can store they have these collections, you can make bookmarks.
Okay. Sorry.
Oops, sorry,
Sorry,
getting an echo
that was me.
here.
Was it better or not?
So we've got, you store your requests over here. You can go and whenever you make a request for something, this is a request that was on here. You can see the code and get it in different formats. Like here's what an HTTP post would look like if you're going to do that manually. There's curl, so we can see all the header options. So we could take this and copy and paste this, at least the body part of this here, essentially from here to here, or where would we do this? Copy that to there, and paste that in the curl options in FileMaker, and then that would work. So we don't have to write all of those things. And the way we set up
This
the
sounds
headers,
really useful for getting your cookie stuff to work.
yeah, it could be,
Yeah.
because it'll when you send your, so here we've got like a SOAP action, and we're putting here, so it's a really easy way to set all the headers and then get it in the right
This would be a
format for
faster
everything.
development process, I think, than writing it, or trying to write it directly in FileMaker script, and running the script every time and debugging the script, and this would be, I think you just have an easier time getting it right and then translating it into copy pasting it into the script.
So we get the response. I mean, you can see the response down here too. It shows you the status and how long it took. This is a particularly large request that we were testing on here. Cookies that I get back, header values, and so you can read all these things and you can see it all really clearly in here. Set all your values, your body, what you're posting in there, which I don't want to pull up right now, but it just makes it really easy to manage it, and then you can save it and come back and run it anytime that you want. There are environments where I've got this one in here, and oops, I'll pull that up, but you can set variables and change values, and it'll store values for requests.
Language in there?
Yeah, exactly. To do that sequencing. Although now it looks like it froze
Like
up.
perform post, set variable result of this post, or
Exactly.
of this post.
Apparently, I just broke it. So of course, but it's a very cool utility.
So that's my next project, is learning that and working with it. So that's it.
Okay, great.
See, if I ask a question next time.
I can't believe you volunteered. You wanted a deadline.